client was going, why are you doing this? What are you, nuts? I said, it isn't right. He goes, how do you know? I said, we courted it. We did it. We know it's not right. It cost me $250,000.
What I find very fascinating is that we can track it all the way back to really just a mindset where times are tough, but I have an opportunity in front of me. I'm going to find a way to make it happen.
You're going to fall. You're going to fall hard. We've fallen hard many a time.
So it was indeed a step of faith, but that step of faith paid off in the end.
We're supposed to take care of our family.
Yep.
We're supposed to take care of our God. We're supposed to take care of our community, and we're supposed to give back.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 1% Podcast. I'm Robert Young. This is my good friend and co-host Doug Cellini. Today we're talking to GH Pastors and Son and the story about stewardship and how they've made a real impact in the community through their foundation.
Let's dive in.
Well, guys, thanks for coming in. Appreciate the drive up here. Like Doug was saying earlier here just a few minutes ago, there's so many good stories that we wanted to share from other entrepreneurs and business owners, specifically those who have made significant community impact. Ryan, you and I have known each other for a little while here.
Yes.
And I think you kicked my butt on the hockey ice when we had the parent versus kid games. But there was so much more to the pastor family legacy that I thought needed to be shared. So we appreciate you coming on and talking about that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could just kind of dive right in, I guess, John, if you want to kind of take the lead and start, like from GH Pastor and Sons, tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you got to, filtered into that business, and then how it's transitioned into the foundation as well.
Well, it's kind of crazy. We're the company started in 1925 with my grandfather and his brother-in-law, and he was a banker first, and then he got into doing scattered lots, and he was like, gosh, this is really good business and stuff. So he actually stopped being a banker, and it was at First Fed back in the day and stuff. So then he became a home builder. They lasted through the Depression, actually saved the Home Builders Association for Michigan.
Really?
Actually, it was actually housed in my grandfather's office and all that stuff. And we still have the plaque back in 1931 where he was,
That's cool.
I think, the secretary, because it was called Pastor Bourne back in the day. And Bourne was, I think, the vice president or something. So they saved that and all that stuff. And then Harold Bourne passed away. So then it became George Pastor. Through time, then it became George H. Pastor and Sons. My grandfather took on my father, which is Richard. There was also Bill Pastor, and then there was Bob Pastor. So the three sons and my grandfather ran the business, did a lot of between Henry Ford and my grandfather owned all the property in Dearborn.
Wow.
Well, which is crazy. My grandfather only owned a lot. Henry Ford owned everything else.
Yeah.
Semantics.
I had to do that. It's one of my things. But in 1962, my grandfather sold it out to the three brothers, and so it became before that, George H. Pastor and Sons. Then my father and his brothers took it over. In the early 80s, of course, you want to talk about ups and downs, right?
Yeah.
My father started a subdivision in 1978. Well, before you guys were around and stuff, interest rates were just a little bit high, 18, 19% and stuff. He literally just got done doing a subdivision at 13 Mile and Farmington Road right by North Farmington High School in Farmington Hills. And, of course, nothing happened in 78, 79, 80, 81. And holy smokes, he ended up having to give the subdivision back to the bank and stuff. And here he is just trying to survive. Mm-hmm. And an ex-superintendent of my father came up to him and said, hey, I can get you some work if you can get me a drive-through window at a Burger King. My father's like, wow, okay. He's really good friends with the mayor. He went to the mayor and said, hey, Ed, it was Ed McNamara at the time. He goes, can I please, can we get a drive-through window at the Burger King? It would mean a lot to me. Get me some work. And Ed goes, Dick, love you, great supporter of mine and stuff, but we don't allow drive-throughs in Livonia. He goes, let's think about it a couple of days and come back and see what we come up with. So sure enough, my father went to the bank, and guess where he was at? In the drive-through lane at the drive-through window, right?
Yeah.
My dad goes, wow, goes to Ed McNamara the next day, goes, Ed, I was at the bank. They have a drive-through windows. He goes, no, Dick. That's a convenience pickup window. My dad goes, well, can we have a convenience pickup window at the Burger King? He said, sure. That's how we got all around all this, the zoning and all that stuff by
Yeah.
calling it a convenience pickup window instead of a drive-through window. So that's what started our career in the commercial end of it. When you talk about highs and lows, the
Yeah.
lows was the economy, 18% interest on housing. We got out of housing. And I understand in Kimberly Oaks and Livonia, did a lot of development in Livonia, a lot of homes in Livonia and in Farmington Hills. So that's actually what saved us is just that little verbiage of getting us into Burger King. Then we're like, oh gosh, so we did one on Plymouth and Inkster. Then we went to Wayne and Plymouth Road. Then we went to 5 in Middle Belt and 7 in Middle Belt. Burger King comes up to us and goes, you guys want to do one on the east side? And we're like, the east side, holy shnikes. You know, there's 696 wasn't up and running yet.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh my gosh. So we started doing that. And then they're like, how about you want to go up north to Oscoda and all this stuff? And my dad's going, oh my gosh, I don't know that we can do that. But we ended up doing it. And then it came, hey, do you want to do one in Loveland, Ohio? And my dad's going, gosh, I don't know how we do that. And I'm like, Dad, what's the difference if we're 3 hours north or 3 hours south? Well, I guess not much.
Yeah.
And through that, we started meeting other clients on stuff. We were doing Long John Silver's, all the little drive-throughs and all that stuff for Long John Silver's. It was crazy how many of those. And we just started going into different restaurant chains and all that. So that's kind of the history of, George H. Pastor & Sons. We actually bought my father out in 2000. And now it's my brother and I just bought my brother Craig out. So now it's just myself, my brother-in-law, and my son Ryan that are in the business. Now, we also have my sister. We have my sister-in-law. We have my my brother-in-law, which was married to my sister now. So that's fun.
Yeah.
And we have my sister and her ex-husband still working at the company.
Yeah.
And then we have my other brother's wife working for us in the Burger Kings and stuff. So it's crazy. Then the opportunities came up in 2019. Do you want to get into Burger King? So I bought my first Burger King was in Wixom.
Okay.
How much of a leap was that? Was that a pretty big decision for you?
Yeah. Well, that story was a great story too. So we had 4 people. It was Brad Trowski, his father, my brother Craig, and I. And we got approved because we were actually going to do a Burger King at the Union Center at the U of M. And so we got approved and all that stuff. And then U of M goes, sorry, guys, we're going to do it ourselves. So we, for franchisee, didn't have a store. So we finally got the one store. And when I went to close on it, Brad and his dad go, well, we don't want to do it anymore. And my brother Craig says, well, I don't want to do it anymore. Well, I'm pot committed.
Yeah.
I've already signed the paperwork and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
you're
And I'm
gonna-
thinking, well, maybe they won't finance me and all that stuff. And sure enough, I got finance and all that stuff. I'm like, shoot. Right? All in. Sometimes you walk in, sometimes you're pushed in. So that's how we got into Burger King. Then we had a franchisee that I did a lot of work for. They had 2 in Clinton Township, 1 in Taylor, 1 in Melvindale. So we bought those. So we became 5 stores. And then you heard the big news about Burger King closing down 30 stores, right? A couple years ago.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't because Burger King was bad. It was because the franchisee was not owning up to their obligations with Burger King. So they actually gave us an opportunity to get 6 stores.
Okay.
So we became 11 stores. We closed one of them because it wasn't performing. So we're at 10 stores now. That's just the Burger King model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we go into the concert venue. Concert venue is up in Farwell, Michigan. It was actually at a sheriff's sale. So we bought it off that. It's 110 acres. So we have concerts with Mark Farner coming up at the 4th of July, Ted Nugent July 25th, and we have Dustin Lynch coming up in September, are the ones that we're dealing with, and we're working on a couple others for this year. But we also are turning it into a campsite. We also have a party store. We'll have a restaurant there. And then we're also going to sell the little tiny homes on wheels. So that's what that little venue is doing.
Yeah.
But we also have a plastering company that does ethos, cultured stone, and thin brick, which my friend that I've known since 5th or 6th grade, he runs that division. It's been 25 years that we've been in that business. and his name is Dante DeVito, that had run synthetic plastering by GHP. We have developments, and then something that's probably the most important thing is the foundation that we started 2 years ago and stuff. So the foundation raises money for epilepsy, autism, Down syndrome, the Children's Miracle Network, and sled hockey. And what it does is we have done alumni games. So the Red Wings, and when you do an alumni game, normally most people only get 5 or 6 guys. We are all 25 guys are all Red Wing alumni. And then our first game was against the Boston Bruins alumni. Then we did the New York Rangers and then the Canadiens. And these are all of them had to play for one of those teams to be in our game. We were fortunate enough that Channel 4 actually teamed up with us, live streamed the game. We have Ben Holden and Sean Belegian. They do the broadcasting along with Meltdown and stuff. Karen Newman does the national anthem and such. It is just an awesome treat. But the thing that I think we're most proud of that, not only did we raise money and give over $60,000 out to those charities so far, but we also do sled hockey. What's interesting about that is we got somebody that we all know, if you're a hockey fan, Vladimir Konstantinov.
Yeah.
We got him, we introduced him to sled hockey, and he played his first game of sled hockey at our event.
Yeah.
So he's done it for 2 years in a row and stuff. And to me, that is just, and his daughter comes up to us and says, we can't thank you enough. He has a renewed spirit in life.
Oh, cool.
That's very cool.
That is very cool.
Cool as beyond.
Yeah.
Normally he sits there and takes naps out throughout the day.
Yeah.
Not one nap. He stayed and signed autographs and all that stuff. Went to the after party. Just like, he doesn't do this.
Yeah.
So, we feel very special that we've actually brought something not only to him, but, to raise money for those charities and stuff. Everybody goes, why did you do those charities and stuff? Well, the first thing, Ryan, I don't know if you know, he was the Children's Miracle Network kid in 1987. 97, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
So he had a brain tumor and all that stuff. And if you look on our link, the GH Pastor Foundation for Kids, you can link on his story and see what he went through as a 7-year-old. Just crazy.
Oh, wow.
My niece has epilepsy.
Okay.
My business partner, Dante's son, is autistic with Down syndromes.
Oh.
So hence,
Yeah.
of the
All the things.
the charities that we have and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we got into doing the sled hockey because we love hockey. So
Yeah.
we got introduced to that. So we thought, hey, why not try and promote
Absolutely.
the sled hockey event and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's my story.
Wow.
I'm sticking to it.
Lots to.
That was a lot to unpack
That's
there.
amazing.
in 10 minutes.
And this is exactly what we want to promote, right? Because if you hear that story, we can focus on where you're at now, right? And the things that how you're giving back to the community, the businesses that you have, and the successful businesses. But what I find very fascinating is that we can track it all the way back to really just a mindset of your grandpa, I want to say, where times are tough. I have an opportunity in front of me.
Yep.
I'm going to find a way to make it happen, right? I'm going to find a way to make this drive-through happen. I don't care what I need to do. I'm going to talk to who I need to talk to. And when the moment presented itself, right, where he's at the bank and he's at the convenience window, right? And having that moment, that aha moment, but it's having the right mindset, it's having the right thought process, it's having the ability to follow through with it is really what I see. Talk to me a little bit more about, give me some of those lessons that you were taught in those early years, right, that were handed down from your grandpa, those hard lessons. We talked a little bit in the back room about what we love about hockey. And then I didn't grow up as a hockey fan. I obviously followed the Red Wings from a distance. But we talked, in the back room about the Learn to Skate programs that our local communities are offering and how amazing it is to see the kids out there falling down, getting up constantly. I guess share with me, any lessons that come to mind, that were passed on to you.
Lessons. Well, you can understand my father, it would be his grandfather that I started around when I was 9 years old laying sod and cleaning houses, which is kind of crazy and stuff. And I remember my cousin, the son of a gun, We're working hard. And you're 9 years old. A yard of sod is heavy.
Yeah.
When it's wet, it's even heavier.
It's heavy at 43 too, guys. So
So all day long, I'm doing this, and he goes, "Hey, why don't you go ask your dad for a raise?" And I think I was making 25 or 50 cents an hour.
yeah.
I get the dumb idea. Okay.
Yeah.
I go up to my dad. "Hey, Dad, can I get a raise?" He goes, "Really? All I want to see is E&A."
Yeah.
I go, "E&A?" He goes, "Yeah, elbows and asses."
Get busy.
Shut up, turn around and work.
Yeah.
And it's funny because then he's like, my mom, God, love her. My brother Craig and I were working. My sister, who was in between us, wasn't working. So she got the idea that we should have to pay her money for not working. And we're like, "What are you talking about? We paying her for not working, and we're working." He just instilled, even through high school and stuff, it was more important for us to work, learn the value. And back then, we didn't have cars like we do today. You rode your bike. You walked. You did whatever you can. And uphill both ways.
Yeah.
And yes, it was uphill both ways because we lived on top of hills, so we had to walk down and then walk back up the hill.
Yeah.
So we were both ways.
Yep. Every day.
I remember in the rain, riding a bike in the rain, going to the Flame Restaurant on Grand River.
Yep.
They didn't come pick you up and stuff. I mean, you learned the value of getting there, getting on time, doing your job, which is important. Now, I could have played, I made the golf team, I made the tennis team, I made the baseball team and all that stuff, but I couldn't do that because I had to work. But it taught me the value of the dollar, right? It taught me responsibilities and stuff. That's where, unfortunately, a lot of times right now, it goes back to what we were talking about, falling. You know how many times I fell? A ton. We rode horses. Get bucked off. What do? Get right back on. And that's kind of what happens in business. Not every decision you're going to make is going to be right. But you know what? It was probably right for the moment in time. I remember plenty of times, not my father as much. My father pretty much would let you make your decisions and, kind of guide you and all that stuff. Where the brothers, they were fighting for positions, right? And like, "Oh, you screwed this up," right? Well, at the moment, at the time that you're making a decision, you're making it for the right decisions. Meaning you're thinking it's right for the business, right for the future, and all that stuff. May not have been right, but that's what your mindset always has been. And that's what you always, if you're doing that, you're going to succeed. You're going to fall. You're going to fall hard. We've fallen hard many a times. I mean, with the economy, as a general contractor, if the economy's bad, guess what? Nobody's building.
Yeah.
And I don't have a choice. It's not like a food establishment that you have to eat.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have to build.
Yeah.
So our lessons back in the day was, if you work for Burger King, you didn't work for McDonald's or Wendy's or anything like that. And then when Burger King was doing great, we were doing great. When Burger King shut off, guess what? We're looking at going, "Holy snakies, what do I do now?"
Right.
Yeah.
That's when we started going to meeting with Long John Silver's and Papa John's and Famous Dave's and all the other restaurant chains that we work with.
Because now you have a niche.
We do.
Put in convenience windows, right?
Right. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
But you're known in the industry as well. So
Yes,
people come to you
and
now.
what it is we're known. We learned how to do it not just in state but out of state, and that's where people don't understand. How can you do that? Well, you have a good superintendent, you have a good project manager. What's the difference if you're here in Troy, Michigan, or Livonia, Michigan? You're still not in Troy, or you're not in Tampa, Florida. You just have to keep eyes and you have to put systems in places. But the reason why we are going around the country is because the clients that we have know that we do it their way. And we're an offshoot. I believe it's a partnership. And it's not just a partnership with them, but it's with the other contractors. So I know that I'm not going to get all the jobs. I couldn't do all their jobs. But as a team, we get it all done. And if we get it all done, guess what? They keep moving and they keep building. That means I keep working.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't realize is there's competition, don't get me wrong. But you're not going to get everything. So a long time ago, a guy named Ted Sikleski was worked at 7-Eleven and Dunkin' Donuts and stuff, and he taught us that working together, we're doing these remodels in 48 hours, and we're ripping the store apart and putting it back in with inspections and everything. We had down to every 15 minutes we had to do something. And if somebody was missing something, I ran it over to the other GC, and if I was missing, they would run it over to me and stuff. We worked together and stuff, and that's where we really flourished by working together. And it's not just with the client, but other people and stuff. And still to this day, if we have a client for Taco Bell, we do a lot with and stuff, and we have being a former state rep, I also had some insights with the health department and all that stuff. And if they needed help, guess what? I'd help them. If they needed help with the power companies, being a former state rep, I had a little pull. So even though it was my job, I was still helping out the cause.
That's cool.
So hopefully when I'm in a bid and if there's a choice, guess what? I hope they choose us.
Right.
Let's dive into that a little bit too, because you kind of tossed it in there like it was very nonchalant, like, yeah, I used to be a state representative. How do you go from GH and Pastors and Sons, being as busy as you are, running everything that entails, and then getting into state representation? And then, Ryan, I want to give you a chance. You had a very interesting story that you shared with me a couple of days ago. I want to talk about that as well.
Well, I got upset with I was a councilman in the city of Livonia,
Okay.
and I was having a project at 8 and Haggerty, and it's right next to the Hampton Inn. It's where the Mission Barbecue is at. If you know where that's at, that was our property. And the DEQ would not give me a permit. I fought for 5 years. I submitted a plan at the beginning, and it took me 5 years to get that same plan approved. And I'm like, this shouldn't happen.
Right.
State government literally has forgotten what their job is. Their job is to service us, the people.
Yeah. Yes.
Their job should be going, how can I help you, instead of no.
Right.
And that's what the DEQ does. No first. No second, third, fourth, 5, 6, 35 times. It's no until they finally say yes. And it shouldn't be that way. They should be showing you how to do it. As a builder, developer, whatever you want to call it, that was my first development in my era. Now, my grandfather and father did them, but I didn't. That was the first one we did. We want to work with the environment. You know, ponds and wetlands and stuff, that's good for development. People like that because you know what comes there? Animals. And people like animals, deers, fish, ducks, and all that stuff. That only enhances the project. They do everything they can to not let you do what you believe should be the right thing. And so I got so frustrated. I remember getting my permit. I remember going to the city of Northfield Township and going up to pull my permit, and they're like, you're not getting a permit. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, I got my approval. He goes, no, you didn't. We're not approving anything. And I just lost my mind. I went back to the DEQ, and he goes, well, I can't make them do anything. I said, but you approved it. He goes, I don't care. So at that point, I ran for state rep. And what was interesting is not only did I win, I became their budget chairman. Now, great story here. Here I am. You're the liaison for the DEQ. You're the head of the DEQ, and there's a couple other people at my office. And they go, Representative Pastor, we know that you've had some issues with us and all that stuff, but we're here to tell you that we really don't give a shit. Because if you make it 6 years, you're going to be on 6 years. Guess what? We're retiring here.
Yeah.
So we don't care what you do to us. That was my first experience with them. As their budget chairman, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Not only am I the chair of your budget, not only am I a state rep, but I'm a goddamn citizen.
Right.
And you're sitting here telling me this. I'm just like, that's what's wrong with our government.
Yeah.
The entitlement. Yeah.
It was. So I was in charge of corrections, which was awesome. There were some great programs that I think we should instill, but you know, MDOT, all that stuff, family social services. We were talking about adoption and all that stuff, and how crazy these adoption agencies, they don't want kids to be adopted because they make so much money per kid. And I just found it just mind-blowing that they wouldn't want to put kids in homes.
Homes, yeah. And that'd be a whole other podcast episode for us to dive into.
Yeah.
Trust me,
right?
as you can tell, I could talk for a while.
We could talk about the red tape with the adoption system and foster care and all of that. We're obviously very passionate about that and with our household. Ryan, we kind of brushed over it earlier that, you know, oh, by
Just
the
a
way.
minor, just a minor story.
you know, here you are doing all these things, and your son has a brain tumor at the age of 7. I guess tell us a little bit about that.
I mean,
What can you remember? How about that?
I was 7, so I don't remember a ton, but so I just remember having a bunch of headaches one day, and I wasn't like the other kids getting out and hanging out all summer. I was kind of laying on the couch, so my mom, bless her, she knew someone's wrong. Even though the doctors weren't thinking, they said everything was fine every time we went in. She's like, I know something's going on. So we went back and back and back and finally got a...
Mother intuition.
Yes, very much so. Then we finally got a MRI or a CAT scan. I forgot what it was. And then the doctor's finally like, yep, something's going on. You're needing to go to surgery tomorrow. So we went in. Surgery happened. I really don't remember anything. They had to drain a tumor that was about the size of a baseball in my cerebellum, which controlled balance, speech, all that stuff. I was supposed to be back to normal the next day. I wasn't. I just sat in bed, not doing too much. Had to relearn everything, relearn how to walk, talk, everything. I was in the hospital for like 3 months or so.
You were in intensive care for 35 days.
Care.
Oh, wow.
And then had to do PT, OT, speech, all that stuff
3
afterwards.
years.
Yeah.
3 years.
I think it was 3 years till I was fully covered. Then I had MRIs, CAT scans till I was 18, I believe. The cool thing about that, if I can say any cool memories, was my dad, to reward me for doing all my little milestones and stuff. It was like, oh, I'll build you a cool tree house. And every milestone was, oh, you can get a nail for this or a 2x4 for this or whatever. So that was some motivation. That was really cool.
Brick by brick.
Also,
Yes.
my surgeon was the same surgeon that Vladimir Konstantinov had. So that was cool.
Oh,
Okay, very cool.
did you guys talk about that?
No, that was, he had it after me.
Right.
Like
Right.
2 or 3 years
Right,
after.
right,
so
right.
That was really cool. And then I got to, when I got out of the hospital, I got to ride home my grandfather's 36 Packard with no seatbelts. The nurses just loved that.
Yeah, they freaked out. You can't do that. I said, I can do anything I want. He's coming out of the hospital. He can do
It was
it.
the 90s too, right?
And it was the
Yeah.
90s,
Yeah.
but it was the coolest thing ever. Second grade, that was summer of first grade. Second grade, when being back in school, it was good to be with my friends. My teacher was horrible, but I don't really remember much about second grade at all.
Yeah.
Well, you were in a walker at that time.
Yeah, I was in Walker and all that stuff. Still recovering and all that stuff. But through it all, I was big in sports. Red Wings were a big part of our house.
Yes.
So that's thus why we do so much related to hockey right now.
Yeah, so it was he's missing some of the things because I understand we just came back from an awesome vacation from Hawaii, 17 days. Yeah. My wife was pregnant with our daughter. Mm. And what happened is that was the beginning of July. So he was in a karate tournament and all that stuff. And he was one of the best kids in the class and stuff. And he went in this tournament and got beat by a girl. I'm like, Ryan, what the heck is going on? I mean, how could you get beat by a girl? Not to say that that's bad.
Yeah.
But he was better than that. And he goes, Dad, I just don't feel good. You know, I got a headache and all that stuff. And his eyes were always bloodshot and stuff. And what happened, so my wife was taking him to the doctors, just like you were saying. And then July 14th, my wife's mother was critically ill. She actually passed away on the 15th. We induced labor to have our daughter on the 16th, buried her on Ryan's birthday, which is the 18th. And in the meantime, after that, we started building our house. The day before we found out that he had the brain tumor, he was on an excavator with the guy digging our new basement and stuff. We just started 3 new businesses. And
So no stress.
none
stress.
whatsoever. So we were building the house and all that stuff. He digging the hole. That's when he was getting the MRI. The next day, he just sat on the couch, and all you could see, you couldn't see his eyes. All you see was the pupil, the black pupil. Yeah. And we're like, oh my gosh, we got to take him in and all that stuff. So remember, just lost my mother-in-law, just had a baby, and here we are taking him in the hospital. We go to
and then Aunt Kathy got in car accident.
right. Went to the hospital. What was it? In Novi, it's Providence, and they basically tell us you got to go to Beaumont. And we're like, why do we got to go to Beaumont? He goes, your son has a brain tumor, and we're just like, so here we are there in the hospital, young daughter with this and all that stuff. It's just a crazy time. I often tell people, if I can be half the man my son is, I think I've been a success.
Yeah.
You know.
But I say, on the other hand, if I can be half man my dad is, I'd be a success too.
No, that's not true. But between my father and my son, it's really shaped who I am, and hopefully we can make a difference in other people's lives and stuff. So,
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer. I used to say to some of the youth that we used to mentor was, like, do you know how diamonds are formed? It's through heat and pressure over time and a lot of hardships, and it's kind of what molds you into who you are. I think all of us kind of share some difficult life stories, but there's ways to kind of pull that into our life. Well, thank you for sharing that. Ryan, you shared a story about a mission trip you took up north, and that kind of impacted the business as well. I can already see your dad smiling. I want to hear more about this because I shared it with Doug earlier. I'm like, we got to talk about this on the podcast.
I love talking about this. So thank you very much for letting me speak. Number one, God's good all the time. And this one, stories. So that shouldn't have happened, but did. In a very weird way. So I was let me start. I was my wife and I were on the missions council at church, Plymouth Nazarene in Plymouth. And it was during COVID, where you couldn't go do mission trips anywhere, especially overseas, and you really couldn't go out of the state anywhere. So my pastor came up to me and he's like, "Hey Ryan, find your mission is to find a mission trip in Michigan. We got to do something over COVID because, we don't know what to do. No one's doing anything. We got to do something." I'm like, okay. And then I was just browsing through everything, and I found this. I think it was through other people I knew or something. I found this mission trip up in Sheboygan, way up in the tip by Mackinac City. I learned it is the poorest county in Michigan, which you wouldn't know it because all the summer vacation homes are up there and all that. But when they go away, it's a very poor area. And then we were up there doing some work for the pastor and all that stuff, and it was just a low congregation, only about 30, 35 people. They weren't well off by any means. But they bought this 8 acres of land, and we were up there cutting the grass, cutting the 8 acres. And I eventually asked him, I'm like, "Pastor, why are we cutting this 8 acres? It's awesome, but why are we doing it? There's nothing here, and I'm not hearing anything going there." He's like, "Well, we don't have the money now, but it's been our dream for 15 years to have a church." And I'm like, "Well, I'm a contractor, right?" He's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, do you have some plans? I can see them and look them over." He's like, "Yeah." And so he sent them to me. I don't think he was thinking anything was going to come of it. And then I showed them to Dad, and we talked about it. And by the grace of God, Dad's like, "Yeah, go for it." So that was awesome.
But it wasn't quite just that easy. I think these were times were kind of tough.
Times were very tough. It was over COVID where no one could work for 3-6 months. Nothing was really coming in. So it was definitely taking a step of faith in doing this. We just felt like God was kind of calling us to do something, do this for the quote-unquote least of these that we're called to do, and we abided best we could. Didn't know how it was going to be, didn't know how it was going to happen, but did. So they, of course, didn't have the money. They had about a quarter of the money to do it. And and then they had to finance the rest. They got a bank to do it somehow because banks don't loan money to churches.
No,
that
they
just
don't.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So by the grace of God, that was able to happen. We got a good crew together with a mix of people from down by Detroit, Ohio, up north. We all came together to do this. My dad and I went up there to talk to them, to pitch it to the board and Compassionate Ministries up there, do some work on their current church that they moved out of, which was the basement of a 100-plus-year-old Catholic church that was leaking. Work on some of their houses, things like that.
What was the financial risk?
Financial risk, well, they didn't have the money. We really didn't have the money at that time. We didn't have the income coming in. So it was indeed a step of faith. But that step of faith paid off in the end. And I feel like we were able to do a lot more work after that with our clients and new clients and everything coming out of the woodwork, just because we kind of trusted God in that process.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. One thing that Robert and I have been working on is something that we feel that we're being called to do is in the financial realm is to help people like yourselves understand and what truly stewardship is about, right? And it's not always just about giving, but it's about using your resources and using your God-given talents for the greater good, right? And for God's glory. And when I'm listening to your story from the last a while here, and I'm just blown away because even when you're in the contracted business, I'm just using our skills to take care of the people, right? And then we're using our finances to take care of the people and have a greater impact. I guess, is there, we only got a couple minutes left here. Is there like a philosophy that you guys live by? I guess, where did this whole mindset of being a steward and stewardship, where did that develop? Is it, something that you guys preach about or talk about? Is there just something that's kind of been established in your brain?
Well, being a pastor and all,
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be tough.
Yeah. Cool.
I do tend to preach a little bit, but no, that's what my father installed in us. I think my grandfather installed in my father, which Ryan has helped bring this to light and stuff. It's about caring, giving back, integrity, doing the right thing. What he doesn't say is about what we did is we donated a lot of the doors, the furniture, the equipment, because it's called the Lord's Kitchen. So they prepare food for the locals. They also do laundry for the locals, which a lot of people don't realize what you can do up there. And showers and stuff. So it's more than just a church and stuff. We raise money from our subcontractors.
Yes.
We raised about $20,000 to $30,000 to put towards this project and stuff, and we didn't take a fee.
Yeah.
All right, we just asked us to cover whatever our costs were for products and stuff. So that's how they were to do it. And it was funny because when we went before the Nazarene board, their question is, "Why are you doing this?"
It's not common.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
they were just like,
Yeah.
they just didn't
Blown away
believe.
by the generosity.
Well, because remember, the size of the church was only 30, 35 people and stuff. And they're in the basement and all that stuff. Why them? Why not a bigger church or something like that? So, but I tell you what, Pulte Foundation actually helped them out a lot, which now the church is paid off now?
Yes, it is.
Paid off.
3 years paid off.
So they're thriving now. They're probably 75 to 100 people
Yeah.
and stuff. That's doing the Lord's work there,
Amazing.
brother. I
Doing
mean,
back to school events, they're feeding umpteen people every day, every week. It's just amazing what God's allowing up there.
But
It's amazing.
that's what we're supposed to do as a human, I believe. Is we're supposed to take care of our family. We're supposed to take care of our God. We're supposed to take care of our community, and we're supposed to give back. And people do it in different phases, whether they do it in different orders and all that stuff. I've always been, or at least I believe our company has always been, as a giver and all that stuff. We want to do the right thing and stuff. There's been times out there that we've been on some projects, just in Arizona. I had to rip out a parking lot and redo it at my cost.
Because it's the right thing to
And
do. Yeah.
I tell you what, the client was going, why are you doing this? What are you, nuts? I said, it isn't right. He goes, how do you know? I said, we court it. We did it. We know it's not right. It cost me $250,000. All right? That's out of my pocket. And he's just like, are you sure this doesn't make any sense? Why would you do this? I'm like, because it's the right thing to do. That's what has to be done. There's a lot of people out there that aren't doing the right thing. They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it for them to get. I don't believe that. I think the people that are doing that are going to end up at the line, back of the line.
Yeah.
The people that are doing right and they're doing good, you may not see it today.
Yep.
But you know what? You're a better person for it. You feel good, and you're doing the right thing for the overall portion of it. And that's what he's taught me, how to do more of that. He's so compassionate, so even keel and all that stuff. He's brought me down. I used to be very high strung, high tense and all that stuff. I still am a little bit, but,
I
it's
think
maybe
it works both ways.
I think it's because of my hair loss. I don't know. Been trying to teach it a lesson, but it just doesn't want to grow.
doesn't wanna
So I
grow,
just
huh?
keep cutting it, and it won't do it. So what do I know?
Let's kind of wrap it up here on the foundation talk. What are the plans for the next foundation?
Ooh, which is kind of cool. So I was telling you earlier today how we were doing this, but the Red Wing organization is actually threatened to sue us and all that stuff. So they actually called the Dow Center, told us not to have the game against the Blackhawks and stuff. And so we got a letter from their attorney and stuff. So we said, all right, fine, we won't have the game and such. But the NHL alumni reached out to us. They heard what we were doing with our games and stuff, and we are now in talks with them to partner with them. So it's going to be, instead of the Red Wings versus Boston or whoever, because we were going to do the original 6. Now what they're going to do is they're going to reach out to all their alumni and say whoever wants to play. Let's say if there's 40 guys, we'll do 2 teams. If there's 80 guys, we'll do 4 teams. But we're going to have a draft, our own draft. We'll have Dave Lewis is one of the coaches, so he'll be Team A. We'll have B, C, and D, and then we'll have a weekend tournament of alumni. So they won't be representing a team; they'll be representing a new team that will form as the alumni, and they'll play for the alumni cup that sits at my desk.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And when is this taking place?
This will be next year, probably in April. We've been working not only with them, but the Hockey Hall of Fame. So they've been a part of it, So it's been really cool, all the different people that have actually stepped up. Even the Knights of Columbus want to step up and be part of this and so. So it's actually growing. I mean, we went from our first game being around 800 people to our second game was like 2,200 to 2,400 people to our last game, which was around 1,800 people. So it's not a lot, but, because of Channel 4, Sean Belegian, Ben Hogan, and Meltdown and all that stuff, and all the news that's gotten out there and stuff, I think this really, we get people calling, when's the next game?
Yeah. But it might not be a lot to you, but the money that's being raised and the little dollars are going to support the children with autism and Down syndrome, the Children's Miracle Network, that's making real impact. And it doesn't matter if it's $5 or, $5 million, right? Every little bit helps.
Yeah.
Well, that's funny because the Red Wings, alumni, they're like, well, you can't be making money on this. I said, no, we're not yet. But I still donated 60 grand. It's 59,000, 60 grand, somewhere in there to all these different charities and stuff. But I'm doing, and he goes, well, you could just, you're just doing this to get a write-off. I'm like, really? I don't have to do this. I could just write a check to my foundation, get the write-off, dude.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make this something better, something to grow into and stuff. And to also increase the sled hockey awareness and stuff. That's what we're trying to do. I mean, everybody's like, well, what do you get out of it? I get the joy of meeting people and knowing that I've helped somebody. That I make a difference. And we already have with Konstantinov alone.
Yeah.
And it's just an exciting day. I know the kids get a lot out of it.
love
I
it.
know your son did.
He
When
loves
was
it,
there,
yeah.
my son did. So it's fun all around. The fans love it. The kids love it. Kids with the varying stuff they have going on. It's just a day of rest and enjoyment. You can be a kid at the games where they don't always get to. So it's just a good day to relax.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate you sharing your story and your stewardship. I think this kind of ties into the SOW acronym we use quite often, which is being a steward of your wealth, optimize your wealth, and then witness the impact of your wealth, which certainly you were living through that example. So thank you so much for being on the show, and then maybe we can have you back.